As we've documented here before on What Culture Wrestling, The Undertaker on many of an occasion tried to kill people. Straight up murder their ass. Well, that must run in the family, because his brother Kane is no angel either. Far from it. The man who apparently comes through hell, fire and brimstone, which is absolutely not true when you take a step back and think about it, is well up for trying to off someone on WWE TV, and some of the things he's done during his tenure are straight up crazy. Entertaining, you may say, but definitely crazy. I'm Simon from What Culture. This is 10 times Kane attempted murder in the WWE. Number 10. Paul Bearer. Despite the fact he was meant to be his dad, Kane loved to try and kill Paul Bearer. It's pretty mean when you think about it. On the one hand, you've got the least threatening man you've ever laid your eyes on, and on the other is flipping Kane, a 7-foot monster. Which is bullying if you ask me. But in early 2012, Kane decided it would be a fab idea to try and freeze Bearer to death by putting him in a freezer. That's bad enough, but it gets worse when you find out Paul had already been put there by Randy Orton. So when we saw Kane heading in that direction, we thought he was there to save him, but he wasn't. Instead, Kane just put old Daddy-O back in the freezer, where I can only assume he froze to death. We'll never know for sure, because it was never followed up on. So I guess someone could have saved him. Maybe not. Number 9. Eric Bischoff. When Kane had to take his mask off in June 2003, WWE was able to book him like a nuts person again, because that's how everyone reacts when they're forced to take their mask off. Just go bonkers. And that's exactly what happened, especially on the June 30th, 2003 edition of Raw. During a world title match between Triple H and RVD, Kane emerged at the end of it with a towel on his head and no hair, because he was now a loony. While it seemed like he was going to go after former tag team partner Rob Van Dam, he instead turned his attentions to Eric Bischoff before giving him one of the most brutal choke slams in history. Rather than landing on his back, Bischoff kind of fell on his head and the whole thing looked horrendous. It certainly helped Kane come across like a real threat, and also that the former WCW head honcho was now dead. It's that horrific. Number 8. Linda McMahon, Tori and Lita. Kane tombstone Linda McMahon on the entrance ramp. Kane tombstone Lita on the entrance ramp, and Kane tombstone Tori because she left him for X-Pac. While I can kind of understand that last one, dropping people on their heads, especially if it's onto cold hard steel, is probably not doing anything positive for them, and, very likely, is an attempt to kill them off. I mean, why else do you do it? It's certainly not for fun, and the endgame has to be that Kane wanted to try and murder them. Pro wrestling is really weird. Number 7. Shane McMahon. During the summer of 2003, Kane found himself in a feud with Shane McMahon. Clearly the Big Red Machine felt like he needed to break Shane more than most of his opponents, hence why he attacked him from behind one evening, tied him to the ring post, and then used the ring steps to trap Shane's legs. So far, so bizarre. He then poured water over McMahon, focusing especially on his groin. That would have been enough, to be honest. He then grabbed some jumper cables and attached that to Shane's testicles. He then electrocuted the testicles. Not only is this straight up torture, but if you burn someone's balls, they're probably going to die unless they get proper medical care immediately. Not something you can just walk off. Number 6. The Undertaker Part 1. The Undertaker and Kane love trying to kill each other, as you will soon find out. And one of these memorable occasions was at Survivor Series 2003, where the latter buried the former alive. As the Phenom faced Vince McMahon in such a contest, it was all going in Taker's favour until Kane showed up to turn the tables. He attacked his brother and threw him in the open grave, and that allowed the WWE chairman to have his hand raised and, as is clear, let The Undertaker suffocate to death under mounds of dirt. In a way, this did actually kill something off, as it was the last time we'd ever see Biker Taker. When the two squared off at WrestleMania 20, it was the dead man that returned. We were all better off because of that. Number 5. The Undertaker Part 2. See? What did I tell you? The best part here is that this is 7 years after Survivor Series 2003 at Bragging Rights 2010, and yet it still ended with Kane burying his sibling. What are we even talking about anymore? The Undertaker was shoved back down in the dirt and once again had to find a way to survive. He of course did, given that he's still on TV today, but that's now twice Kane has tried to stop the lungs of the dead man in order to win a wrestling contest. Bit extreme, wouldn't you say? I would. Number 4. ZACK RYDER. Man, you did not want to be ZACK RYDER in 2012. Picked on by Kane literally because he was friends with John Cena, who Kane was feuding with, it all started in January 2012 when the masked one chokeslammed him through the metal staging area at the top of the ramp. It was so brutal, in terms of the storyline, that Ryder was left wheelchair bound because of it. This, unfortunately, made him an easier target, so a month on worse was about to come. With Ryder still unable to walk, Kane decided to shove Zack off the ramp as the man took a very uncomfortable looking bump which isn't that surprising given he was hurled out of his wheelchair. After this, Ryder was stretchered out of there, and if this happened within the realms of reality, he'd have been lucky to have survived. Thankfully, this is wrestling, however. He was back to normal in a few weeks. Number 3, a ring technician. Early Kane is best Kane, there's no two ways about it. Feeling genuinely terrifying and looking the part as well, Kane busted onto the scene and felt every bit the match for The Undertaker. That's no small feat. A large reason for this was because WWE decided to also give him supernatural powers. To showcase this, Kane marched the ring on Raw a week prior to WrestleMania 14 and shot lightning from his hands. Yep, you heard what I said. That's what happened. While originally this was done as some sort of ritual, it soon got nasty when Kane turned towards a technician, shot lightning at him, set him on fire. This dude then ran up the ramp before some people ran out the back to put out the flames. You'd think Kane would have been arrested for trying to burn someone alive, but nope, this was fine. Nothing to see here, except for potential death. Number 2, Jim Ross. On July 14th, 2003, Jim Ross sat down with Kane to try and figure out what the deal was. After all, here was a man that claimed to wear a mask because he was covered in scars, yet there were no scars. There's some answers that were clearly needed. As you may remember, Kane didn't have any patience with JR's fancy talk and decided the best way to explain his actions was to share the experience. So he punched him in the face and poured gasoline over him. Then he lit a match and threw it on the announcer. Unsurprisingly, this caused JR to light up and he rolled around the floor screaming in pain. I don't know about you, but if I decide to set someone on fire, I'm probably trying to kill them. And if I don't realise that, I'm really stupid. Number 1, The Undertaker Part 3. When you boil everything down, The Undertaker and Kane basically just want to try and kill each other. That's what their entire relationship is based on. And I guess as long as that works, then who am I to judge? But after pretending that all was well and good in the family household at the Royal Rumble 1998, Kane turned on his brother during a casket match with Shawn Michaels, causing The Undertaker to lose. If this wasn't bad enough, Kane wheeled the box of death to the entrance ramp and then went at it with an axe. Just to truly top it off, he poured gasoline onto said casket and set it on fire. So just to clarify, man is in casket, casket is on fire, man in casket is slowly dying in horrific pain. It worked though, as Kane came across like a monster and a psychopath, so I guess it was worthwhile.
I am defiant.
I am defiant. I am defiant.
I am defiant. I am the villain. We are defiant.